What's up, guys? Happy late night showdown over here on social media. Sure, you know, if somehow you got in the position of giving me some of your time and attention tonight, I greatly appreciate it. You see you later. Hope you're having a good Friday night. You know, stay safe, healthy. Have fun, make memories. All the good stuff. Let's make sure almost to where we need to be. All right, Instagram. That is light. Sweet. All right, welcome, my esteemed viewers, to another exhilarating episode of Know Your Pharmacist live stream this glorious Friday evening of March 1st, 2024. I'm your host, Dr. Joaquin Acosta, the driving force behind PharmTrue, here to guide you through another journey of discovery and enlightenment in the ever-evolving world of healthcare. Tonight, we're diving deep into topics that resonate at the heart of our societal and health challenges. We begin with the Pharmacist Frontline, where we explore the groundbreaking decision of CVS and Walgreens to dispense the abortion pill in legal states. This one specifically, mifepristone. We'll talk about it with the other one, misoprostol, right? This monumentous move marks a pivotal point in reproductive health rights, reflecting the dynamic nature of our healthcare landscape. We'll analyze the implications of this shift, bringing to light the complexity of law, ethics, and healthcare. Moving on to our tech talk, we delve into the transformative role of telehealth in abortion care. With a staggering 16% of abortions now facilitated through digital platforms, we're witnessing a digital revolution in healthcare accessibility. This segment promises to challenge our perceptions and open our eyes to the power of telehealth in providing vital care. In our Enlightenment Hour, we'll shift our focus to the effectiveness of misoprostol, specifically and by itself, in medication-assisted abortions. The latest findings suggest a higher efficacy than previously thought, reshaping our understanding and approach to self-managed abortion care in the first place. Our Herbal Wellness Corner, proudly sponsored by High Horse Cannabis Company, takes us on a scented journey beyond THC. We'll uncover how aroma rather than THC mediates the therapeutic and subjective effects of cannabis, offering a fresh perspective on cannabis quality and therapy. In the community spotlight supported by the Baked Chicken Farm, we celebrate the creative spirit of our community with Morning Stars Church Spring Break Art Camp. This initiative beautifully illustrates the power of creativity and learning in shaping young minds and building community bonds. Finally, our Men's Health Minute, presented by Vado Speedway Park, brings to light the critical role of men in women's abortion-related care, particularly in low and middle-income countries. This segment is a call to acknowledge and understand the diverse factors shaping abortion care globally. Big shout out to our sponsors, PharmTrue, High Horse Cannabis Company, Vado Speedway Park, and the Big Chicken Farm for their unwavering support. Their dedication not only empowers the show, but also fuels our collective journey towards a healthier, more informed world. So dear viewers, sit back, engage, and prepare to be enlightened. Together, let's navigate these complex topics with an open mind and heart. Here's to a night of learning, empowerment, and positive change. Let's get started on this transformative journey. So jumping right in, interestingly enough, IG, I'm sorry for whatever's going on right now. I'm seeing some glitches. So give me like just a second there. Interesting. All right, there goes Instagram again. So what's up, guys? I think we're back. As you see me stress out again as we start this live. You know, we work through it. Bada boom, bada bang. All right, so probably seen a lot of headlines today talking about this, and so breaking it down, you know, even more. I think this is an interesting topic to start off, you know, the month with here, March 1st. Friday evening, the weekend, talking about the abortion pill in the first place. Obviously, this specific abortion pill, mifepristone, you're not going to be able to get in, retail pharmacies like tomorrow. New Mexico in the first place is relatively a little bit more progressive when it comes to, healthcare access and abortion care. So, we have definitely, had pretty much the means of helping people have medication-assisted abortions, here in New Mexico, to where we were, helping to support the state of Texas and even beyond, since 2023 at the very least began, right? So we'll talk a little bit basically about some of the history here, but what happened here is CVS and Walgreens basically are starting to now dispense this specific abortion pill, mifepristone. And so we're going to break down basically like the differences, because there's two birth control pills, one called mifepristone and one called misoprostol. And so, traditionally you can take mifepristone before the misoprostol regimen, and it's taken together. And so the first one, mifepristone, you'd have to go take in a doctor's office to then go fill, your misoprostol perhaps at a retail pharmacy, because us pharmacists have definitely dispensed misoprostol in the state of New Mexico before, right? So, what does that even mean, right? For everybody that's listening, what it means is that it does open up, the collective efforts probably for the traditional means of, birth control prescribing, or abortion prescribing, and opening up the windows there. Whether or not misoprostol itself, cytotec by itself would be considered, FDA approved for abortions. This mifepristone therapy, gets it there, right? So crazy. Walgreens Boots Alliance and put a big statement on this today, and they have a big resource hub out for it. And their statement on mifepristone is that, since the FDA has opened up the certification process, Walgreens has now completed the FDA certification to dispense mifepristone and expects to begin dispensing within a week. Consistent with federal and state laws, we're beginning a phased rollout in select locations to ensure quality, safety, and privacy for our patients, providers, and team members. I don't think New Mexico, we're not on the rollout list. Anyways, where is Walgreens going to do it? Walgreens has completed the FDA certification process and expects to roll out in, I believe, do I have it here? Rhode Island, and it was a very small pocket of states that is going to get the initial rollout. Yep. So right here, CVS, they're starting it in Massachusetts and Rhode Island this week, with eventual plans to expand to other states where the drug is legal on a rolling basis, according to a CVS spokeswoman. Walgreens is going to begin dispensing it in their stores in New York, Pennsylvania, Massachusetts, California, and Illinois within this week. It's interesting enough that New Mexico, they probably doesn't even matter that they do it, because abortion care has been relatively easy to access, right? People driving in to get abortions from literally, the east sides of Texas. And we really saw a lot of that last year, and it was pretty crazy for sure. So, New Mexico has been, told we are the abortion capital of the world. Whether or not, people's opinions on that, as a healthcare provider, I look at healthcare access there. So we fight those causes from whatever front we have to fight it. And it's just it's an interesting place to be in the middle of the mix there. Most pharmacists' sentiment is, going to fill the abortion pill. From time to time, you do get pharmacists who, for religious reasons, do not fill the pill. And so, corporate policies give the rights to the pharmacist. In rural situations, sometimes you do find, issues, because if you're the only pharmacist in a very location that doesn't have a lot of access, then how are you going to get that medication if the one pharmacist could be refusing? So, it doesn't traditionally happen like that, but guarantee you some of our smaller counties and things have had to fight through that over the years. And, for better or for worse, we have opened up definitely our access to care out there in the state of New Mexico. And so I don't know if us not being on the initial first week of the mifepristone rollout really makes, that much of a difference. That's just a personal opinion, because we are already, pretty accessible as it is. So maybe the state of New York, for instance, which obviously their population being 50 times our state, like perhaps a lot more clinical application, quicker, especially depending on the traditional prescribing of it, right? So, talking about the FDA's approval of it, information about mifepristone, medical termination of pregnancy through 10 weeks of gestation. So looking at this, mifepristone and its generic, mifepristone 200 milligram were approved in a regimen with misoprostol to end an intrauterine pregnancy through 10 weeks gestation. FDA first approved Mirapex in 2000 and approved a generic version of it, mifepristone in 200 milligrams in 2019. So mifepristone generic, mifepristone and for brand Mifeprex, available under a single shared system and mitigation strategy REMS system known as the mifepristone REMS program, which sets forth the requirements that must be followed for the mifepristone for medical termination of pregnancy through 10 weeks gestation. Under the REMS program, it must be dispensed by or under the supervision of a certified prescriber by certified pharmacies for prescriptions issued by certified prescribers. Under this REMS program, it may also be dispensed in person or by mail. So looking at this is where things got a little juicy, right? In 2021, after conducting a review of the mifepristone REMS program, the FDA determined that the available data and information support modification of the REMS to reduce burden on healthcare delivery system and to ensure the benefits of the product outweigh the risk. The mifepristone REMS program was modified on January 3rd, 2023, and under the mifepristone REMS program, mifepristone must be prescribed by a healthcare provider that meets certain qualifications and is certified to do it. In order to do it, you must complete the prescriber agreement form. Patient agreement form must be done from the patient side. Prescribers and pharmacies now must be, able to get certified to dispense mifepristone. So, interestingly enough, these were the big changes that happened recently, and it wasn't, up until, all this happened, and the bill was. I'm pulling this up just to refresh. Here, so I don't butcher the name. Got it. So check it out. Abortion in America in the post-Dobbs world. So this is reading out from the AAMC. Fallout from the landmark Supreme Court decision overturning the constitutional right to an abortion will continue to challenge patients and providers for years, says legal expert Mary Ziegler. This is November 6th of last year, 2023. So take a look, just a little bit of history regarding how these changes even, got to this point. Well, the U.S. Supreme Court 2022 overturning of Roe v. Wade sparked dramatic shifts in the abortion landscape in the United States, but even more significant changes may lie ahead. Those changes cut to the core of the nature of democracy in America, said Ziegler, a professor of law at the University of California, Davis, and one of the world's leading experts on reproductive rights. If you think what comes next after Dobbs, it's not just about a struggle about how patients relate to their bodies and their healthcare. It's about how we relate to the body politic. This will be, in some ways, a fight over what kind of democracy we have. Decision has also shifted how physicians practice medicine, she said. For years, physicians could afford to stay on the sidelines, but that's no longer true, as they now sometimes find themselves taking on the role of de facto lawyers, struggling to interpret abortion laws that could land them in jail for 10 years or more. And that can't help but impact how some patients view their providers. Patients would rather be in a position where they can trust clinicians rather than worrying that they are collaborating with law enforcement officers, Ziegler said in a discussion with session moderator and reproductive justice advocate Anitra Beasley, associate professor at Baylor College of Medicine. Obviously, Texas, we know how that is, so we get the spillover. Meanwhile, some physicians are unwilling to work in states that ban abortion, shrinking access to basic care for patients in regions already struggling with doctor shortages. This is likely to lead to even more deserts in states that already have them. Often those areas are ones that are likely to have prosecutors who are ambitious about prosecuting abortion-related cases, she added. Looking ahead, Ziegler pointed to numerous potential other moves on the part of anti-abortion activism. Among them are the pursuit of a national abortion ban under the 1873 Comstock Act that, she said, Republican president would move to enforce elements of the law that prohibit mailing of any device or medication that could be used in abortion, but doctors can play a key role in shaping what lies ahead for abortion rights in America. So, looking at this perspective here, it's often physician-led ballot initiatives that prevailed on the side of abortion rights, and voters care about physicians' voices. Speaking out about how you feel about this as a physician is very important, and they can put more of a thumb on the scale than any other constituency. So, just taking it all back, these are all recent changes that the entire pretty much pharmacy industry, medical industry is kind of, soaking in as soon as this week. New Mexico, again, like I said, not going to be severely impacted anytime soon. So, what does that mean for us? Perhaps not much, but for a lot of other people in the country, this is a very, important situation. And, bringing this over to Tech Talk, had see what I got for you. There we go. 16%, guys, of all abortions occur via telehealth as restrictions tighten. So, looking at these, following the overturning of federal abortion protections, abortions obtained via telehealth, even in states with bans, have grown. So, looking at that becomes, how do people get access to care? What are doctors able to do to live in states where, maybe they live in a state where they can't practice, in a certain way. So we're just kind of passing it around via the states to administrate health based on that, which is just right. So taking a look at all that, right? So if you were to be, seeking abortion care right now in the country, in the state of New Mexico, easiest place to go, Planned Parenthood, right? No doubt about it. What are you going to do? Definitely first thing you're going to be Googling, right, is going to be Planned Parenthood and trying to figure out exactly how to get, access to services and care. So, right, when you go to the Planned Parenthood website, you're going to get care, schedule an appointment, get care online, Planned Parenthood app. So this, countrywide is basically going to be your best resource for anybody who really does, need that access to care on an immediate notice. And so, maybe the terms of the therapy or where the therapy is going to be able to be accessed might be changed, which could be more convenient for people if, retail pharmacies can be, again, dispensing both mifepristone and misoprostol to patients who they would just see via provider, so they don't have to get mifepristone from the clinic as traditionally had been done. So, those basically were big changes under the mifepristone program. But it still brings to question, a lot of things, I've seen in terms of prescribing, and I don't know if we have any reproductive specialists listening or not, but I filled a lot of just misoprostol scripts, right? And, even as evidence says here, this study, in a cohort of 637 callers to safe abortion hotlines and accompaniment groups, 98.1% had complete abortion using just misoprostol without procedural intervention. So findings suggest effective misoprostol alone for abortion may be higher than previously thought, and exploration of expanding access via this regimen is warranted in both clinical and non-clinical contexts. So, where the mifepristone kind of breaks down that uterine lining, and the misoprostol goes and clears it all out. The general job of misoprostol. Are we even needing to do all the mifepristone work in the first place is kind of what I'm getting at. If you can kill the bird with one stone, and I hate to even say the word kill the bird, but you know what I mean? If you can do the job effectively with one medication and one means, that doesn't have to be REMS regulated. Everything we just talked about doesn't have to go through all that. It's just in the pharmacy. Why aren't we just doing that? So I don't know. Seems odd, but those are the things in pharma that you try to do to make sure that you get paid for two things, right? Versus one. And maybe that's a little bit extra skeptical, but just in practice, I've truly seen just misoprostol prescribed solo dolo get the job done. All right, so enough about abortions for the moment. Let's jump into our herbal wellness corner. Just wanted to share with you guys this weekend. I hope everybody's shopping High Horse. Also, hope everybody's voting for SCU awards, guys. Up for the 2023 SCU award. Please vote for me. Please vote for High Horse, best dispensary Southeast and Southwest quadrants in the state. My company Farm Troop for best advocacy group. I would love your vote for best advocate. All you have to do is put it all in right there. Our bud tender Trisha Fasolino, best bud tender, 4 stores or more. So vote. And then shop. We've got great deals on great flour, great pre-rolls right now, guys. So, I mean, it's all good stuff. And as we do talk about flour, I did want to talk about this Flower Friday. Interesting little study here on the nose aroma, but not THC, right? Mediates the subjective effects of smoked and vaporized cannabis flower. So just looking at this little study out of 2022, just some food for thought here. Previous studies have shown that cannabis consumers are willing to pay more for higher quality products. However, the definition of quality cannabis has not been defined. Despite the known health risks of THC overuse, THC potency has been adopted as the primary market driving feature of cannabis products. The purpose of this study was to objectively identify features of cannabis that contribute to its appealing subjective effects. In the course of conducting cannabis competitions, commercially available cannabis inflorescences were distributed to healthy volunteers, judges in a randomized, double-blind fashion. Anonymous online survey data about the subjective effects of each cannabis sample were analyzed independently by researchers not involved with the competition. Pleasant subjective aroma, but not terpene expression, THC potency, or THC dose was positively correlated with pleasant subjective effects. There was also a moderate but significant negative association between the amount of cannabis consumed and subjective appeal. These results suggest that unlike THC potency, pleasant aroma is predictive of pleasant subjective effects. Similar to other agricultural commodities such as coffee, tea, aroma appears to be a robust indicator of cannabis inflorescence. These findings have a wide-reaching public health implications, given the well-established health risks of THC overuse. What does that mean? In a nutshell, guys, the way, those terpenes are in the cannabis, your terpene percentages, how the cannabis smells. Does it smell pleasant? Is it something that you would want to consume? You're going to have a better effect with it, right? So, of course, some people are going to like the visual trichomes all over the flower, right? Like to see big, rich buds full of trichomes, lots of color. Don't want it to be too dry, right? You've got to have a lot of things that are happening for you there. But the interesting thing enough, right? Like when you've got that skunky smell, you've got a distinct smell. So again, if you like the way your weed smells, you're going to have better effects. That's what the data says. Do people always shop by smell? Not always. You shop by THC percent, and that's true. People that are shopping for cannabis, right? The explorative type of people, your regular consumers, our brain attributes this deal to THC percent to the value of the dollar. Whether or not that's entirely, the right mental connection, I think we don't quite have the best idea on that yet. And so, market trends speak to that. Data, speaks to enjoying cannabis. You might think you're going to have a better experience picking 27% over 26%, but if 26% smelled way better than 27%, right? So lots of food for thought there. Just another, concept for you this weekend as you're shopping, pre-rolls, all the ounces, all the good stuff we've got over at High Horse, 24/7, 365, Chaparral and Hobbs, 7 a.m. to midnight. Smell that flower a little more, right? Don't just smell it on the inhale after you burned it. Smell it before, just so, you actually perhaps get to know. And if you can't smell it before you buy it, then pay attention to if you bought it and you enjoyed the smell. It's just something I personally learned, that I don't know if the caryophyllene terpene for me is my favorite terpene. It's got that peppery smell, that garlicky smell, and to me, it's not very pleasant. But that's a personal preference. I like the citrusy smells, for sure. I like the piney smells. I even like lavender smell. Have a hard time with the peppery garlic smell. And I love peppery garlic things to eat. I just don't know if inhaling them, for me personally, even if it's a 32%er, I think I understand why, right? So you just trust your senses there, as a consumer, right? Most of the time, if food doesn't smell good, it doesn't taste good, right? It's kind of the similar concept, but you're arguing again against therapeutic effect. But therapeutic effect is also slight placebo. But again, indica and sativa are placebo. That's my Friday night myth buster for everybody, right? Indica and sativa, no matter what, even if it's somehow through some database at some point been dubbed indica or sativa, the effects, the relaxing effects, the uplifting effects that you would attribute to such indica or sativa come from the terpenes, such as pinene, such as limonene. So that's the next layer of cannabis education that the world will find themselves enlightened to, but research isn't even quite there to give it the good enough justice, right? This is for the crusaders that want to go fight out for themselves. And I know there's plenty of you. All right, so let's talk community spotlight, breaking down spring break art camp over at Morningstar Church. I believe it's next week, 9 to 12, $100 for first child, $50 for siblings, but cooking for kids, paper crafts, fiber art, scheme art, cool stuff. Ideally, I think registration is done by 2 days. So, if you're getting the late night escapade on this, you want some creative opportunities for your child, and you got $100 to spend, you got about 3 hours to register. I'm sure they'll take your money otherwise. This is cool. All right, last thing, guys, Men's Health Minute. Let's go on a quick one. It's an interesting article here talking about abortion care. And by this was a study done 2022, but interestingly enough, men's involvement in women's abortion-related care. Talking here, men may be a lot more influential and involved than men give themselves credit for in these situations. And I think this is kind of what is at least the thought coming out of this. So check it out. Men's involvement in abortion is significant, intersecting across the individual, community, and macro factors that shape abortion-related care pathways. This scoping review maps the evidence from low and middle income countries relating to male involvement, including male abortion providers in abortion trajectories. 5 databases were searched using search terms to yield 7,493 items published in English between January 1st, 2010 and December 20th, 2019. 37 items met the inclusion criteria for items relating to male involvement in women's abortion trajectories and were synthesized using abortion-related care-seeking framework. The majority of studies were conducted in sub-Saharan Africa and were qualitative. Evidence indicated that male involvement was significant, shaping the ability for a woman or girl to disclose her pregnancy or abortion decision. Men as partners were particularly influential, controlling resources necessary for abortion access and providing or withdrawing support for abortions. Denial or rejection of paternity was a critical juncture in many women's abortion trajectories. Men's involvement in abortion trajectories can be both direct and indirect. Contextual realities can make involving men in abortions a necessity rather than a choice. The impact of male or lack of involvement undermines the autonomy of a woman or girl to seek an abortion and shapes the conditions under which abortion seekers are able to access care. So the scoping review demonstrates the need for better understanding of the mechanisms, causes, and intentions behind male involvement, centering the abortion seeker within this. So, that's just interesting food for thought there, because our Men's Health Minute brought to you by Vado Speedway Park. Of course, I can't speak for every other male, right? But you would imagine that, it seems to be, we would respect the autonomy of the woman. You would want to think that. But I think regardless of, even if those, may be implied, are you actually, influencing anything else there? So just food for thought. Everybody has to, whatever, right? Face those moments or not, but if you do find yourself in a moment there, right? Even as a guy, right? Data saying, of course, lack of involvement more likely to lead to the abortion trajectory, right? Completely stepping off. So, that's just as much sitting there to say, hey, it's your decision, it's your body, go do whatever you want. I don't want anything to do with it. Those words will heavily influence the fact on whether or not, she may want to keep that baby, regardless of if you gave her the autonomy. So, again, yes, you have to look at the resources around to where can you bring up this child and whatnot. But again, putting the ball in that court there, interestingly enough, kind of an interesting scenario where I think, of course, we know guys do not always stick around and things don't always work out and whatever else it may be all over the world. So my real final thought on that, not a whole lot. I just would say, hey, be extra sensitive in those situations and realize, if you happen to hear this, that as a guy, even if you don't think you have any influence over any of the situation, data shows that more than likely the decisions that you make will influence the situation. So for better or for worse, and however you define that, is not for me to decide. Food for thought. Shop high horse, vote SEs, enjoy your weekend.